The bullying of a 9-year-old boy has certainly sparked an outpouring of support after his mother shared a video of Quaden Bayles in tears after school. Approximately 1 in 4 Australian students aged between 9 and 16 experience frequent bullying. Australian actor Hugh Jackman is among those calling for an end to it. He also shared a message of support for Quaden.
Quaden, you are stronger than you know, mate. And no matter what, you've got a friend in me. So everyone, let's please be kind to each other. Bullying is not okay, period. Life is hard enough. So let's just remember every person in front of us is facing some kind of battle. So let's just be kind.
Joining me now is Tracy Adams, CEO of Yourtown. Tracy, good morning to you. Such a heartfelt message. It really is true, isn't it? Everyone in front of us is facing some kind of battle. The community response to the relentless bullying of Quaden Bayles has seen overwhelming social media support. Tracy, how vital do you think is community support in such distressing cases?
Well, good morning. I think support is essential, whether it's this case or any case of bullying. Children in particular need to know that they are supported, that there are people there for them, their tribe, their go-to people when things aren't going well. And we all need to know that. Support allows us to feel valued, to be validated, and to know that when times are tough, someone's going to have our back. And I think the other key message that we see then that in this social media support is that bullying is not okay, and it's not, and it's going to take all of us, the whole community, to get behind it and say we need to do things differently.
Tracy, why do you think some people are not kind, and how do we really get the message across that being kind is actually not weak?
I think we need to get the message across about respectful relationships. We need to respect each other. We do need to be kind, and we need to understand the circumstances that other people are in. Really, we've seen this week great trauma experienced by so many because we haven't had respect in relationships. The whole power and balance, wanting to be better, to take away power from others, is allowing people to feel and experience trauma that is impacting them now, impacting their lives, and will impact their lives into the future. And concerningly, it impacts everybody around them. So we really need to get back to what does respect look like, and how do we make sure that we're equipping our children to be respectful to each other, and as adults make sure we're role modelling that.
Yeah, it's just so unbearable to see that video of Quaden, isn't it? Tracy, are some people not even aware that they are bullying, and do you think people need to be more aware of their own behaviours?
Well, of course, I think particularly with children, I mean, we've got to remember children are immature, so they're not always going to make the very best decisions. We need to help them with that. We need to educate them. We need to make sure they see good behaviour in the adults that are around them than what they see when they go out into their sporting clubs, into their schools, into their community. Adults need to take responsibility for the way that we display good behaviour. We need to make sure the most vulnerable in our communities know that they are supported, that difference is just difference. It's not something to be targeted and to be taken advantage of. And we need to make sure our behaviours model that. Unfortunately, we see behaviour online that's not acceptable. We have road rage, we have domestic violence. All of these things come back to the fact we're not respecting each other, we're not valuing each other, and we need to be able to call that out and make sure that we are educating about how we support people to do that.
Yeah, we as adults certainly need to be accountable and be role models for kids. Tracy, Kids Helpline plays a critical role in protecting children and young people and has done so for nearly 30 years. How common is bullying and how severe can it become for some children?
Well, bullying is very common. Last year alone, our counsellors dealt with more than 3,500 counselling sessions of children who needed support right there and then. Hundreds of thousands of children are accessing the materials that we have about bullying from our website. Children are engaging in our Kids Helpline at School programs. We know this is a big issue. We know it continues to be prevalent, and we know that the impacts can be so significant. This is not something to be taken lightly. Young people are experiencing trauma, and far too frequently we see young people, like we saw this week, in such distress, talking about taking their lives, and in some cases, indeed, that has been the result. And this is why we have to stand up and say bullying has to stop.
And who is usually the target of schoolyard bullying? Because is it true that sometimes that if you have been bullied, you become a bully?
Sometimes that does happen because it's around, you know, once you've gone through that yourself and you, I guess, normalises some of those behaviours, and we need to make sure that we don't see those behaviours normalised. The targets of bullying can be those who are different, so children perhaps with a disability, First Australians, young people from different cultures, because they are different. High achievers can also be bullied. Children who struggle at school, for example, they can all be targets. And I think we've got to get to a place where we're educating young people, indeed our community, as I said before, that difference just means difference. It doesn't mean that they are any less valuable as people, and respectful relationships is really key to that.
So what would you say the role is then for parents and teachers when bullying becomes a problem?
Well, certainly what we want to make sure, and children share this with us, they don't want to see it minimised. So we know bullying's been around a long time. We know it can be frequently that, oh, well, that's just the way it is, and we've all gone through that. Every child's unique and they have their own story. So I think the key is we need to allow them to express that, to listen to that. What is going on for them? What do they want to see happen? How can we work through those strategies? Take those strategies that the child has been part of developing to the school. The child isn't going to be able to solve this on their own. They need adults to support them. And the school is part of community and they need support to be able to work through this as well. We can't expect just one part of society to solve this problem.
Tracy, we are being educated more and more, but do you think the impact in terms of the statistics, has that changed at all?
Oh, I think we are being educated more and more about the impacts of bullying, about where resources are. I think there's certainly far more that we need to be doing around how we actually expect behaviours from each other. We need to take that responsibility as adults. We're still continuing to see the trauma of bullying and negative behaviours played out so extremely. So there's a lot more to do. Education is started, it's on a journey, but now we need to really make sure that the role modelling, the embedding of all that learning actually becomes part of how we operate as individuals and a society.
Yeah, we do have a long way to go, don't we? And when victims of bullying are so impacted, where can they go for support?
Well, importantly for children and young people, Kids Helpline is there for them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so they can certainly come to us to make sure that they can be heard, that we can develop strategies. They need to have their support crew, those trusted adults around them, make sure they're not suffering in silence. There is people there to help, and I think this is the key that we've seen this week of people getting behind and saying, we are here, we will support you, don't be afraid to speak up, make sure you bring the concerns that you're experiencing up early, do not allow them to keep going before we raise them to adults. And that's really critical to make sure that children are not suffering in silence with behaviours that are really hurting them.
And Tracy, as well as the helpline number, which we'll get from you in a moment, you've also got a really useful website and a lot of social media platforms. Can you talk us through what those are? Well,
kidshelpline.com.au has resources for young children, for teens, for young adults, for parents, for schools. They can go on there. There's a whole range of topics, information about those topics, how to work through issues that might be presenting. We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on all the social platforms where young people, again, can get information. And of course, they can always connect with our counsellors on 1800 55 1800. They are always there and they are always ready to listen and be supportive.
Tracy Adams, CEO of Yourtown, thank you so much for your time and expertise and all of the outstanding work that you and your team do, and I wish you all the very best for now and the future. Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you very much.